Guys, today we're starting on the interior. Please excuse the pollen. Georgia is out of control with pollen right now. In the last video series, you saw us detail and clean and lubricate and do everything. And man, that is a beautiful engine compartment. Look at that. But in this video, we'll do change these vacuum connectors back to the black correct color. They were maintaining it, but a mechanic put the wrong color hoses, and I can't stand that. So we'll put those back to original. And also, we will start detailing the interior. You can see I've got all the seats out. I've already cleaned and vacuumed. Oops, don't want to drop the camera. I've already cleaned and vacuumed the floors. You can see there's a little dirt in that one I still need to get out. This one's looking good, and everything is in good condition and where it's supposed to be down here. So we've got the carpets out, and of course you can see that. And also I want to do a little touch up on the wood trim right here. You can see it's in outstanding condition except for this one little spot right there. Otherwise it's absolutely beautiful. So we're going to take this out, pop all the switches out, and then I'm going to finish that spot and then refinish the wood so we can fix that little issue. So anyway, let's get to the carpet cleaning. All right, I don't think I've ever done a video showing how I clean the original carpets, but we do a combination of stuff. This is excellent. You pick this up at your auto parts store. So this you spray on and you do your initial scrubbing, right? And this will remove any kind of minor staining in the carpet, whatever may get down in the carpet and cause a little stain. Like we had a little spot right here, and that stuff, this will get out really good. This is good at removing spots. So you have a tank we put in, or we have an industrial, we buy it at a detail shop. It's this pink carpet cleaning solution. And here's your clean tank and your dirty tank. And the way this attachment works is you can actually spray. Let me turn it on. So this sprays, see, that sprays out the solution. And you can spray it on the carpet, and this is a wet vac, so it sucks up behind it while scrubbing it. Let me kind of demonstrate how that works. If I just wanted to make a pass on this area, I just spray it down. There we go. See how it sucks up the solution we had right there? So spray some more solution. And this literally sucks any kind of dirt and grime out of the carpet. This is basically what detail shops do. But you can, as long as your carpet's in really good shape, you can get it incredibly clean. But you really want to start with your carpet in good condition, of course. But this will just get dirty, 40-year-old carpet looking good again. Now, I kind of did that just a little here in order to, this is a drill bit with a nylon brush. So this will, agitate the carpet and stir up any kind of dirt. And it also kind of softens the carpet up again and gives it that, original feeling. There you go. So this will agitate any kind of dirt that's down in the carpet. And it also softens up the carpet, gets it kind of, fluffy again. So I'll run over it a couple of times with this. We'll clean the footrest area here. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, we'll just clean up in here. That's where you get a lot of wear right in here from where the foot is. And let's go ahead and go over this area. And we're going to go back with the wet dry vac. This one is actually in really good condition. This is the driver's mat. So we're gonna let it dry out now, and you know, let it sit overnight until it gets dry. And then it'll smell good, it'll be perfectly clean, and we can get it back in the car. Also on the back of this mat, you can see all the original padding is still here. There's where the AC duct goes for the blowing under, I guess, through the back seat, or maybe that's the heater duct. But there's a duct that goes into the back seat, and see all the molding is still here and all the padding. So that's what you look for. You know, when you go look at a car, you lift up the floor mat to see if all this is still intact, because a lot of times this will be ripped and torn and come off. This was in great condition. You also look for the buttons. These clip to the actual carpet in the car. Well, it's actually a cross member right in front of the seat, and these clip on there. You want those to still be intact. And again, these are, guys, I'm talking about show cars, you know, #1 cars that we try to turn out in perfect, you know, factory original condition. So we're gonna let that one dry out overnight, and then we're gonna go, let's go over this one. And again, look at the underside of this. It's still got all the original covering on it, and all the original insulation, so that's excellent. These are really nice floor mats. So now I'm gonna go ahead, I'll set these aside, and I'm gonna start on the back seat. Here you go. Here's the back seat. Before I've even done anything, I vacuumed them. Oh yeah, that's the first step that I didn't show. You always vacuum them first. But yeah, I mean, that's super nice condition before even cleaning it. So I'm going to clean it anyway. That's what the process I go through. So let me do that, and I'll show you tomorrow once they're all dry. All right, guys, it's the next day. And the carpets are all dry, and I spent the last few hours getting all of the interior back in the car and bolted down, and it looks fantastic. Let's walk up here and take a look. Got the original seats back in. Look how good of condition these seats are. There's our new, well, it looks new. Is our freshly vacuumed and cleaned carpet. Those seats are fantastic. I took these seats out too and vacuumed all underneath the seats, and I mean, I totally went through everything. And that's a little wet spot. I just squirted some carpet cleaner there a second ago because I got a little piece of grease right there from my wrench when I was putting back in the seat. So that'll dry and be the same color as this carpet over here. Look how nice that came out. Fantastic. The seat back nets are great in this. Let's go walk around to the other side. It's a lot of work taking out an interior and putting it back in one of these cars. But it's totally worth it, as you guys can tell. It looks brand new. Looks really good. Let's go look up front here. There's our nice clean carpets. Look at these seats. Sorry for the shadow, but just a little cleaning and elbow grease. So next I want to tackle the redo this center console wood, because that little bitty chip right there, and I want to get the original radio back in there, and I want to clean this little piece of carpet right here. But other than that, this car looks fantastic. So yeah, just a little elbow grease and a little time. Anyway, I'm gonna get to work on some of this other stuff. All right, guys, here we are back in the engine compartment. And as I said in the previous videos, I wanted to replace the little vacuum line connectors, which I like that they're in here. That means people were maintaining the car and taking care of it, but they're the wrong colors. I keep some extra vacuum line in the shop, and it's really just an easy process to put these back. We're just going to go ahead and pull off these connectors and cut to length some new ones and put them back on here. And then I just have a razor blade here, and I'll just cut one to the same length. Easy enough. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do this through the rest of them, and then I'll show you. I'll do one more for you. We'll pop this one off up here from the flying saucer. See, doesn't that look better already? And let me go ahead and get this other one off. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'll show you when I'm done. These red silicone tubes are so tight, I'm actually having to slice a lot of them with a razor blade to get them off, which the factory stuff was not like that. Damn. All right, and I'm going to reapply these little clamps, because those are Mercedes clamps that were on there. So I'm going to put those back onto the black hose. There we go, guys. This is where I'm working right here. Here's the Alda, and I'm just tightening down these little vacuum line clamps. All right. There we go. See, that looks better already. You can see I've got these replaced and these replaced. That already looks a ton better. Now there's some blue ones right down here that I want to replace. All right, guys, just because I'm OCD and I don't like these red lines, I'm actually going to need to remove the flying saucer here and get these lines disconnected from underneath it. Now I can flip this thing over and get these stupid red lines off the bottom. So let me go ahead and knock that out. Here I just want to show you a great example of some German over-engineering. So I've got these lines replaced. So on this line here, now when you slide these over the vacuum lines, they're extremely tight. Yet the Germans put a clamp here, and look at this clamp. It is a special made, hose clamp that goes up around here and clamps onto the side of the hose. And keep in mind, that is not coming out of there just from vibration. Yet they designed that little clamp. So again, it's factory original, so I'm putting it exactly back how it was. So we've got those two lines replaced now. All right, guys, we got all those replaced. Now, doesn't that look much better? All these lines replaced here, these here, the ones back here, and up under the flying saucer. That's just what I call it. So all those vacuum lines now are the original black color, which looks much better for a deserving clean engine like this. All right, I just threw the 85 300D up on the lift to inspect the suspension, and I can see the boots are still great up here on the upper ball joints or upper control arms. And the previous owner replaced the rotors, so it's got new rotors on there, and calipers are great. There's no leaking. The boots on the tie rods are good. So obviously someone's been taking care of it down here. So I don't need to change these rotors, but what I am going to do is throw on some brand new. Actually, they're not brand new. They are new old stock. These are original Mercedes bunt wheels, and they are in fantastic condition. I traveled all the way to Virginia to pick these up. I've got a buddy that has a parts business up there, and he had 4 fantastic original condition wheels. It doesn't get any better than that. Those aren't painted, they're not powder coated, or I mean, those aren't spray painted. Those are the original factory Mercedes wheels. So, and I just got some new tires put on them today. Those are Uniroyal, which is made by owned by Michelin. You can't get a Michelin in the 195s anymore, but Uniroyal is a good tire. That's what I have on my car. So I'm going to throw these up on the car, and actually I need to get the center caps on there. Hey Jefferson. So I'm going to go ahead and put those center caps on. And the reason I wanted to replace the wheels, these are the original wheels, and I bet they would clean up pretty nice, but I can see they're just a little bit faded, and these may have been, it looks like these were refinished. So I'll put these next to what they're supposed to look like. Okay, I just hit that with some brake cleaner, but and these were actually refinished pretty well. It's a smooth surface. It was done well, and it looks good, but the color is ever so slightly different from the original bunt wheel. You can see that is the originals had that sheen to them, so that looks a little bit deeper gray. So anyway, a beautiful car like this needs to have some original new old stock bunt wheels on there, so that's what we're gonna do. All right guys, the next thing I'm working on, I want to clean up this center wood piece. There's a little chip in the wood right there, so I want to put a little stain on that and refinish this. So I've got the ashtray out, and I've slid this back and disconnected all the plugs. So we'll just set that there for a minute. And next we're going to want to pull out this aftermarket radio, because I want to put back in the original radio. See how this thing works. I'm sure this face separates. Yeah, there we go. Has a little face that comes off here. We'll just set that in the seat temporarily. Okay, and there I can see there's the little locking mechanisms right in here for this frame. So we'll get that slid out, and the car came with the original radio, so we'll get that back in. And also this piece of wood right here, I've seen it started to delaminate just a little bit, so I want to pop off this piece and go ahead and relaminate this wood. As far as the rest of the wood, it looks good and it's in excellent condition, except for the delamination right there and that little bitty chip and crack right there. So we're going to get that cleaned up over on the bench. All right guys, we have the piece of wood trim removed from the this is the climate control wood trim, and it was starting to separate a little bit from the backing plate, so I've re-glued that. Now it was just coming up a little bit, so there's several different types of glues I use. If it's just if splitting and delaminating a little bit, you need something runny like the standard Gorilla super glue. If it's not a small crack and you have a lot of room to work with, you can use this stuff, which is not runny. It's the gel Gorilla Glue. So this stays, like I could literally put it right here and it would stay right there. It wouldn't run. And then for the stuff like the big items where I need to completely reattach an entire piece, I'll use this Clear Weld quick setting epoxy. So I use a combination, or not a combination, but I use one of those depending on the job. And this piece here, it was starting to separate just a little at the edge. There you go, you can see down there where it's clamped together. So I needed something that would run down in the edge and then I could clamp it, so I had to use that kind. So we're going to wait for that to cure, and then we're going to start. We got to get this aftermarket radio out of here. And you can, by the way, you can see that wood trim piece, it just snaps into the holes right here. Okay, this is excellent. The owners did not hack up the original wiring. You can see where they spliced in the aftermarket radio harness right here. And they left, there's the original speaker wires. The antenna is back here too. I just saw the antenna a second ago. Let's see, that's a Bluetooth cable. I'll take that out of here. See if I can reach that antenna. I just saw it. Yep, there it is. Here's the original Mercedes antenna connection. And you can see they just used these little twisties, you know, twist locks to connect to the original. There we go. Perfect. The original wiring is still here. So I'm just going to take these off, and then we will reconnect that original wiring back to our original radio. Alright, so we got that harness out of here, and we are left with the original speaker connections. Those plug into the back of the radio. There's our main power plug. There's our antenna, and there is our ground. So we're going to get all that plugged up and see if this original radio works. Alright guys, we got our original Becker radio. We're going to go ahead and plug in our connections. Here's the antenna control. Here's the main power. I'll put a new connector on the antenna control. And then we have our left speaker and our right speaker. Excuse the sound in the background. That's my dogs playing with each other. They like to fight right in front of the garage. And now let's get our antenna. Cool. So let's put this back in the car here. Just loosely set it there. Okay. Plugging in our fader switch. All of the speakers run through this fader.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. When you shop at Kroger,
all right, so we have
because every time you shop,
the fader's working great.
So you'll enjoy lower
fade forward and backward, and our radio is working great.
Favorite items, which makes doubling your savings easy.
So that's fantastic. We got that original radio installed, and the antenna. Yeah, the antenna control is working. The antenna just went all the way up. So that's good. Now the antenna is retracting. Fantastic. All right, guys. I've finished re-gluing the wood back to the backing plate. We're just going to push that right back in there. There we go. It literally just presses right back into those holes. And that is now reattached firmly and is no longer loose. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do now is refinish this wood console piece. You can see it's in great shape. Not a lot of cracking. It's a little dirty. I'll clean it up. But right there, that little spot, I want to repair that chip. So without refinishing and stripping off all the lacquer, I'm going to restain that one area and then use a polyester resin. Here is polyester resin. So that is a Basically, that's the same stuff they use from the factory to coat these. It hardens very hard. It's harder than polyurethane, and it gives that glossy finish. And it takes you have to add a hardener and a wax to it. It's a little bit complicated to mix it. Basically, the ratio I'm going to do is 4 ounces of resin, 80 drops of wax, and 60 drops of hardener. And all of this is also dependent on temperature. So I'm working in the 70 to 90 degree range. It's about 72 degrees here in Georgia. And we're doing about 15 drops because we're on the low end. So 15 drops per ounce of hardener. And basically, I want to remove all these switches. Let's get this back out of the way. But I want to remove all the switches. They're all in good condition. I want to get everything cleaned, lubricated, and then I'm going to lightly sand this down, and I'm going to use a combination of mahogany and walnut to stain that one little spot right there where we have our little chipped piece. There we go. That one little spot. And I'm going to sand this down, and we're going to coat it with polyester resin. All right, guys, we have all our switches out. We'll clean these up, spray some Deox in them. All of these switches are working fantastic, and as you can see, they're in excellent condition. All right, so what we're going to do now is sand this down with some 320 just to smooth things out. There you go. So when we refinish it, little stuff like that, see that little crack right there? That will fix those things, and over here. And you don't have to strip it to finish the top coat. You just want to sand it down a little bit and then clean it off. There you go. And when you sand it, it reveals the imperfections that we're going to correct. So you can see, got crack there, there, and there's one right there. We want to fix that one. Just so we get a perfectly flat. Just so we get a perfectly flat surface to coat with our polyester resin. Now we want to clean it up with some acetone, which is an excellent solvent for doing this type of work. And we're just going to wipe everything down. And this will get any dust out of there. Now I actually want to brush on just a little bit of the mahogany stain. Red mahogany, that looks really good and matches factory almost exactly. And we're just going to brush around here. And what it's going to do, now we're not going to be able to get that perfect, right? We'll see that there's a minor repair there, but it's going to drastically make it less noticeable. All right, so we'll get our stain out here. And we're just going to brush it all over here and then wipe it off. Pretty easy process once you figure out how to do everything. All right, there's our stain. And we're literally going to brush the stain over everything we just sanded. And we'll just let it sit. And there we go. I got the stain on our spot down there. See right there, we covered up that was our blemish. So I put some stain on there, and I'm going to let it sit for about 10 minutes or so. But the rest, we're just going to go ahead and wipe off after about a minute or so. All right, guys, that's after the first round of sanding and staining. You can already see how nice the wood looks. Again, there's our crack. We want to cover that up when we use the polyester resin to recoat everything. And then we're just trying to get that to stain a little darker right there. We'll do the best we can. It'll probably show up as a dark spot, but at least it's not going to be raw wood. But that's the best thing we can do rather than stripping everything and refinishing the entire piece. We're going to see how good we can get that. All right, I'm going to let that sit for a while. Now that might creep a little bit under the polyester, under the existing lacquer or polyester resin coating that came from the factory. It may try to creep a little bit under there, but like I said, we're not going to achieve perfection with this. We're just going to try to make it look better than raw wood. You can notice that spot now. There we go. See, it's a closely matched stain. You can see where a little stain got underneath because that was a break. So a little bit got underneath the original coating. But it was that wood color, which was glaring. It stood out. So now we've got it very closely matching. And we're not going to do any more than that because you can really mess things up if you overdo it. And you'll end up with just a black spot. So now we want to mix up our polyester resin. So let me zoom out here. There we go, and we'll start that process. First, I want to get a nice level surface because I'm going to pour the resin on here, and I want it to be level. I think we're going to have to get a little bit more than that. Let's see. Oh, that looks pretty, that's pretty level. I'm just trying to get this piece, perfectly level like a tabletop. So when I pour the resin around here, it spreads out evenly. And we're going to do 4 ounces of resin. And this stuff is nasty, guys. This is a potent chemical. So we're going to do 4 ounces of resin. There we go. That is 4 ounces of resin. Okay, so we want to have 80 drops. So 20 drops per ounce of our wax. The wax is what allows you, that's when you're just doing one coat. And then I suck it up in a syringe. $80. So there's our wax. We want to stir that in a little bit. And now we want to put in our hardener. And that's going to be 60 drops, or 15 per ounce. And all of this stuff is extremely flammable, guys, so this is some nasty chemicals. Let's get that up in our syringe and then do 60 drops. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. 60. So there's our hardener. And now we need to stir this for about 2 minutes. And then we'll have about 15 minutes of working time. And we're basically just going to be pouring it onto the surface and letting it smooth out. All right, guys, this is pretty much the best angle you guys are going to get. All right, I've got this good and stirred up. Now I'm going to see which way it flows now. Okay, that's flowing good. Looks like it's pretty much flat. Let's see what we're looking like here. Looks like it's made it up to every edge. It actually did make it to the edge here. That's just like a little stain in the wood. Yep. Oh, there's some. See that area right there? There's a dry spot. We're going to hit that area. Guys, that's about as perfect as I can get. Now we don't touch it and we walk away. We wait till this dries. Now, one last thing I'm going to do is underneath here, I'm going to wipe a little bit of the drips away. Not that it matters, I like to get a lot of the drips from underneath. All right, guys, let's let that sit and we'll come back and then we'll do a little sanding to finish it off. All right, guys, it's the next day and what we can see is like a cloudy coating on the polyester resin, and that's the wax. The way this stuff hardens is when you put the wax in and apply it, the wax comes to the surface and it seals in the resin. It gives it an airtight seal with the wax and lets the resin fully cure underneath it. And then you come back and sand off the wax. So that's what we're going to do now. All right, I got a 150. We'll start with that one. All right, we're going to go ahead and start sanding this down to get the wax off. All right, let's wipe this off with some acetone. And keep stepping up the level of granularity on the paper until we get a nice polish. All right, I'm up to 240 now. And we're going to go up to a 400. And let's go up to an 800. Now we're going up to let's see, 2,500. Now we need to start polishing. All right, we have the polishing compound on there. All right, we're starting to get the shine back. All right, guys, we're finally done refinishing the centerpiece, and the interior on this car is pretty much done at this point. I've sent the radio off to Becker to have it gone through and all the electrolytics replaced and have that radio refurbished by Becker. But here, let me show you the center console piece. All right, there is the final product. You can see that original wood chip. I'll show the before and after right now. Came out beautifully. You can see the original crack we had. That is now completely covered with a new polyester resin coating. All the wood grain pops. Looks great. There's the original. That was a big chip. Well, not big. It was a small chip in the wood. And you can see it's now stained where it blends a little bit better. So you can see it right there. We restained it. Now, of course, you can't get it perfect, but now that's protected. It is covered up with a layer of polyester resin. And so is our very small crack that was right there. That is now all covered with polyester resin. And it's now covered and protected. You can see, here's the center console climate control panel back together. I actually glued and reattached this panel here. You can see the wood looks absolutely fantastic. So back to the centerpiece. The reason that I did not, send this off to have it relaminated, because I don't know if you've ever seen the cars that have had the relaminated veneer added. They don't look correct. It doesn't look like the original Mercedes veneer. You can see on this, the wood grain is very tight. It's very tight together. And every time I see a car that's been relaminated with the our new veneer added, it does not look like this. It looks different than what Mercedes did back in the 80s. So that's why I chose to preserve this piece and just restain that and then recoat it with polyester resin, because this is the original factory piece, and I'm all about keeping these cars factory original. Now, this is bulletproof. This is going to last another 30 years. Everything's covered up and protected. There's a few things else I want to do. We'll get up on the lift. We'll go through the underside of the car. And man, that was a lot of work to refinish that. But it is the original piece and it looks great. So anyway, stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care.